And welcome back. Let's review Cloudpunk City of Ghosts. This is the expansion to the base game Cloudpunk that really took me by surprise, and the developer was so kind to supply me with a Steam key, so thanks for that. Yet another night in the neon-soaked city of Nivalis, and if you've played the original, you'll feel right at home with the Minecraftian, Lego-ish style of the city, and it's just as impressive as it was in the base game. Also, the synthesized 80s soundtrack is back, and again, together, the city and the soundtrack really is the highlight of the game. It has that sort of mixture between cyberpunk and Blade Runner. That atmosphere is just very well done in this game. Again, you play as Rania for the most part, who starts her second night of her shift delivering packages all over the city. Is that what you basically do in this game? You fly around delivering packages for all kinds of characters. There is a new shady-ish character introduced, sort of an anti-hero called Hayes, but I didn't really find his story very interesting. There's more humor there, but overall, I found the story to be interesting, but less like grand, so to speak. The odds were high in the base game. There was an arc of a story that was more interesting, but still, there are quite a few interesting characters you'll meet in the expansion, and they range from the absurd to the very interesting. You know, it really makes you wonder what the future will look like for us. Are people going to mix with robots and androids and whatnot? The expansion has the same quality of voice acting, and some of the characters of the base game will reprise their roles in the expansion. As I said, Nivalis might still look gorgeous, but it has its limitations. But there isn't a whole lot to do. Yes, there are some stores where you can buy some non-essential items, but that's pretty much it. The flying with your hover is still great, although the first-person cockpit view you can now switch on the fly to is fancy but pretty useless because it restricts the view of your surroundings. The problem also that the base game had as well. I mean, the flying around with your hover is still fun, as I said, but the expansion, I had this feeling that the delivery runs were longer. There were longer stretches of downtime as you were flying around the city, and it does become a little stale after a while. Also, you can only park your hover at a designated parking spot. That's, of course, to be expected in a city, but that also means that you need to walk a lot around the city, and it's not always easy to navigate certain parts of Nivalis. The walking bit is just not as interesting or as fun to do. The expansion also tries to mix things up with more emphasis on walking around through a maze or a new location. But as I said, you know, the walking around bit is just not as good as the flying around. So there are a lot of changing camera perspectives, and the walking around is just like a Lego-ish figure, and you never feel like the urgency that the story wants to portray really translates into this Lego-ish world that looks a little bit childish, I'd say. But even so, it is still a quality expansion. I mean, again, I had the most fun when I was interacting with these characters, when I was talking to them, when they told their story, and some of the stories are sad, and others are humorous, and others are really provocative. Very interesting to listen to all these different characters. Is this an essential buy? Well, if you loved Cloudpunk, I'd say yes. If you're new to it, well, I don't know. In the end, I think the expansion is less of a lesser quality than the base game, just because of the longer stretches of flying around and just too much emphasis on walking around. I have learned that the developer is working on a new game that is sort of a life sim. You can start a business, I think, in Nivalis, so That's going to be interesting. He's trying to take the take this Navala city to a different sort of game style, which I'm really curious how that's going to pan out. As it stands, it is a fun time if you've enjoyed the original. That's pretty much what I think of City of Ghosts. Let me know what you think, and see you in the next video.